NIO CEO Li Bin is in the headlines again, and this time it's against the United States or even against Elon Musk. So this one should be a fun one again, talking about both NIO and Tesla. And here we have the article. So this is the title: Chinese Tesla rival NIO hits out against US protectionism. EV makers chief William Li contrasts American stance with red carpet treatment for Elon Musk in China. So basically, William Li is going out here and saying, why do Chinese companies face hurdles selling their high-tech cars to American consumers while Tesla boss Elon Musk was giving the red carpet treatment by senior Chinese government officials last month? He's also reaching out and saying the world should be more open and stop politicizing. The global climate has become totally different from that when we set up our company back in 2015, especially after the pandemic stirred up division and antagonism. So for this part, I entirely agree with Li Bin. So the world has increasingly become politicized, and I think part of it is actually to what happened during the pandemic. Of course, it didn't help either that China was closed down for a very, very long time. This helped for different narratives to spread and no way of verifying what's really happening in China as well. I personally faced those issues of not being able to travel to China, or at least not with low cost. And well, after the opening up, it still is this politicized business world that is very different to what Li Bin started out with in the beginning. Now, he's comparing the treatment of NIO by the US with how Tesla's boss Elon Musk is being treated by China. Now, famously, Elon has been lured to China by getting lots of benefits already from Shanghai local government for the Shanghai Gigafactory. But famously also Tesla has built their wholly owned company, or not built, they have established a 100% owned company in China. So they're not using a joint venture partner. So as a Western company, this was unheard of, at least in the automotive field so far. And again, like during the visit of Elon Musk in China, he's received quite a bit of high-level politician contacts or meetings, and going out here and blaming that this is an unfair treatment here, I think that's a little bit off in my point of view. It's just, I think Elon Musk, he's just got, in Chinese, the better guanxi, in terms of he's got the better relationships with those local government officials in comparison to maybe Li Bin and NIO in this case. And also, frankly, Elon Musk, he went out there and invested huge amount of money for Giga Shanghai and created jobs there. China wanted to have Elon Musk in the country in order to set up the whole supply chain and frankly also to steer up the competition. So it's not really that Li Bin couldn't do the same, right? He could go to the US and also create a company there and produce locally in the US. He may not have the perfect supply chain locally than what they are having in China. And also, NIO, unfortunately, right now is not in a position to do a similar move, right? But what I agree with is that, he calls it US protectionism here, and I totally see that too. So I think the US has increasingly become a protectionist country. It's not a free market anymore, and especially with the Inflation Reduction Act, this has created lots of benefits for local companies in the US that are not being granted to foreign companies mostly. And this has even led to the fact that, for example, also Tesla is moving their battery production from Giga Berlin, which was originally planned there, back into the US. A couple of other European companies, German companies and so on, are actually thinking of moving their production to the US instead of doing it in Europe. And so I can also tell you, like, even in Europe, people are quite unhappy about these highly subsidized measures there that are happening in the US. You get really a lot of funding for let's say, for example, the batteries, but also for building a new manufacturing plant. I'm not entirely sure like how inaccessible they are for Chinese companies. I know, for example, that CATL is also moving to the US, and there are possibly moves towards Mexico close by. So there are always ways of working around, and frankly, China is not the only country that is, also, well, let's put it different. China is also a protectionist country in many ways. One would argue that, yes, it's more open in the regard of Tesla, as they can go in and, create this company and build up the Giga Shanghai. However, as I mentioned before, like, this is also an open way for Li Bin to do the same in the US if he really wanted to. I think that would be possible. And, China also has quite a couple of hurdles also in the case of Tesla. For example, FSD is still not available in, like, the beta version is still not available in China. I don't really see it coming currently, although there are rumors out there that this might happen. And given Musk's really close relationships here with the high-level politicians like Xinjiang and so on, this might be a big move if that's happening, because basically there need to be licenses granted and so on. And this would actually be usually a area where protectionism in China, due to such legislation, is actually preventing Western companies from becoming too popular. So I think actually that Li Bin kind of knows that, what I just laid out, that, Tesla is not treated super preferential by China, that instead it's kind of merit based in a way. And I also think that he knows that he would be able to do it in the US if he's doing the right moves there. So once again, this is a topic about partnering up, making the right strategic moves and finding the right answers to it. But maybe he's telling this because it's rather a signal back home to the local politicians, and, kind of saying, look, guys, we need to find an answer here from a Chinese perspective. If things are going like this, then maybe we should also consider helping out more our local companies. Otherwise, the local companies will possibly lose out on their potential in China itself, but also going globally. And so I think this interview, if it's been done this way, the way I read it by Li Bin, is not so much focused actually at Tesla and the United States, and more towards the domestic audience, to be honest. And maybe at the same time also a little bit, because Li Bin also is, at least part of this industry delegation, for example, also heading to Europe. So he is somewhat connected, and he is part of that and kind of a spokesperson of the industry right now. And so maybe he's also sending a little bit of a political message here on behalf of somebody else here to the US, to the Biden administration, which in my point of view has been terrible in relations to China, more terrible than any other administration that I've seen so far. And, this is not a good development. I agree with Li Bin here. The world is less open than before. I wouldn't call the US a free capitalistic society in that regard. Again, if that sort of protectionism is in place. And at the same time, funnily enough, China in some ways is actually, even not so much fostering their own local stars like NIO and so on. And, sometimes people say like, the CCP is behind NIO and they will back them, whatever it takes. No, that's not the case. And this is once again proof of it. Li Bin, he is annoyed about what's happening there. And that's a kind of a a cry of hope here, if you will. And yeah, in China, you really need to also be able to win in competition. Otherwise, they will let you fall. And this is what he's criticizing here in a way as well. I know that's a bit of a political topic, but I thought it would be fun to comment and give you my thoughts here. What are yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.